Hello everyone. So welcome to this module of elementary Microsoft Excel. Well, if you're new to Excel, if you're a beginner, really young to don't know where to start off with the Excel basics, you're at the right place. This module is for anyone and everyone who's not even touched Excel before. We guide you through the very basics of Excel. Excel is a very powerful tool. It can help you store basic numbers, play around with them, play around with data, and at the same time, it can work wonders with complex equations. We won't get into the advanced stages right yet, so don't worry. Just sit down and relax. Watch these videos, and with each video, what you also get are some tutorials for you to self-practice and evaluate. Feel free to send back any queries or doubts that you may have. You will notice that it is a self-paced module which builds up on each of the previous chapters and modules that you see. So then we will get started with what an Excel is, what are the basic functions that an Excel can offer. You as a beginner, what is it that you could use Excel for to your own advantage? As I mentioned, Excel can be used from age groups which are 10 and above, who can comfortably start learning the very basics of Excel, which prove to be very, very useful and a powerful tool as you progress and advance in your careers. So then we will jump into the basics of Excel, which give you an overview and an understanding of where Excel is. And then we move on to the various functions that Excel has to offer. Do ensure to practice with the exercises that are mentioned after the modules. That will give you a hands-on. And as always, do feel free to reach out or write back with any queries, or if you wish to submit any of your assignments. So then let's deep dive into the basics. And welcome to this first module of Microsoft Excel. We'll get into the very basics from a beginner's level to see what is it that Excel can help you with and what are the functionalities that this provides you. Well, Excel is an extremely powerful tool, and at the same time, it helps provide beginners with a lot of utilities that can be replaced for a paper and pencil kind of work. So let's get started. What I've opened right now in front of you is a blank Excel workbook. This Excel right now provides a number of cells that you see in rectangular boxes. What exactly is a cell? A cell is a rectangular box which allows you to enter data within it. There you go. How do I identify this cell which has the number 23? The identification is through the row and the column identifiers. For example, 23 numeral is placed at D column and row number 3. So it's called the cell D3. So on and so forth. I can go and utilize a number of cells and identify them with their particular cell numbers. What you see at the bottom over here is sheet 1. I can name my sheet appropriately as needed to be able to provide certain context in terms of how and where this sheet would be used. Let me name this sheet as test sample 1. Now, the beauty of Excel is that it allows you to open multiple workbooks at the same time. How do you do this? You see this small plus button right next to test sample 1. When I click on this, it helps me open another sheet and another one, and so on and so forth. So I can have multiple tabs running within the same Excel, which could be related to each other. Let's get back to our test sample 1. Now, say for example, I wish to do a certain bordering of the cell that I see over here. I simply click on the home button right at the top over here. You see a number of cell borders. Choose the one that's most relevant to you. A one-sided border, a top border, lower border, bordered on all sides. All of that is possible, a thick border as well. Let's select a standard all border. There you go. My cell is bordered now. That's not enough. The content of these cells can also be formatted. For example, I wish to use a larger size of this number. There you go. The font can be varied depending on how I want it to be. The color can also be varied. You see this button right over here with the A with the underline in red color. It allows you to choose a particular color for the text that you have entered. Let's say I go with green. I'll choose this now and convert this to green. There you go. Not only that, it allows me to color the entire cell as well. You see the button right to the left of the A, and that's your color cell. I select the cell that I wish to color. I go to this drop down, and let's say I wish to choose a red color. There you go. The cell is now colored in red with the font of the text being in green color. So we've seen three particular things in this row: bordering of the cell, filling of the cell with a particular color, and the font color. What we've also seen, selecting particular types of fonts with a particular size. Now let's look at another example. Okay. Say I wish to increase and make this particular text bold. If you see the B button over here, it helps make my text go bold. I can also make it italic, and italic is a slant. The button I right next to the bold makes me go italic. I may wish to underline this since it might be of certain importance. And so I choose the underline button right next to it. And there you see, this is underlined. I again wish to increase the font a bit. I go back, click on this cell, select a larger font. There you go. Well, you would have noticed the content of this cell is now not fitting through in the cell itself, and it's overflowing. What do? I can simply increase the column width through a very simple mechanism. Just go right at the top over here. I'm right now on column F. I take my cursor to the right of column F, and I double click here with my mouse. And there you go. I've managed to be able to fit the entire content in the cell. Suppose I do not wish to increase the size of the column, but still want the entire text to fit into the cell. How do I do that? Let's take another example. There we go. The text is overflowing again, but I wish this to fit into a single without changing the size of the column. I select the cell, and you see an option here called wrap text. I select the wrap text, and there you go. The entire content gets fitted into the cell without changing the column width. So these are some of the very basic functionalities. Now let's dig in further. Let me pick up another number. Let's put in 88 over here. You see this text over here is right aligned. That is, the number 88 is to the right hand side of your screen. Say I wish to bring this to the left of my screen. There's the alignment tab. You click on align left, and the number 88 comes right to the left. I take it back to the center, or again to the right, and I can play with the alignment. At the same time, I may wish to align the text of all the cells in a particular column. Let's say there's a 28 here, there's a 77 here, there's a 65 here, and I wish to right align all of these. All I do is I simply select this column and I click on the center align. There you go. All of them are center aligned at one particular go. What else can we do? Let's see the top bottom spacing of these cells. We've taken the number right at the top through this top alignment, to the center with the center alignment, and right at the bottom now with this bottom alignment. So the content within the cell can be left, right, center aligned, or top, center, bottom aligned through the use of these particular buttons. I'm sure you would be familiar with certain cut, copy, paste functionalities in a variety of applications. It works very similar in your Microsoft Excel as well. Let's say, for example, I wish to copy this particular number 88 from the cell. I simply go and select the cell 88, click on the copy button. Say I wish to get it at 06. I select the cell 06 and go and click the paste button. There you go, 88 has been pasted. Instead of a copy, if I would have liked to do a cut, let's take number 77. I select the cell, I cut the number 77, and I wish to paste this particular number on 011. I select that cell, go back, paste over there, and we have 77 that's moved across. Okay, what does Format Painter do? That's an interesting one. Say, for example, the content of my cell D3 has a particular appearance. I wish to have a similar appearance for another particular cell or multiple cells within the workbook. All I do is I select cell D3. I click on Format Painter. Now, say for example, I wish to have cell J5, which has the number 65 embedded in it with a similar format. I simply go and select that cell. And there you go. The number 65 is also now in a similar format to 23. So that's a very useful functionality when you wish to copy paste the format of a cell rather than the content of the cell. And that is where the Format Painter comes into use. You can also merge multiple cells. Let's see an example. There are these two cells. I wish to merge the two cells. I simply select these two cells and I click merge and center. An important thing to note that when we merge and center two cells, it keeps the value only of the upper left cells and discards the other value. Let's do that. Here you go. It has merged the two cells and retained the value of the left-hand side cell. And at the same time, it has also applied a center to that particular cell. Well then, let's take a pause here. We've seen some of the basic functionalities that rest on the Home tab of your Microsoft Excel. We've just opened up a new worksheet and you've already started seeing magic, and it's really simple. We'll see an exercise that you can practice on your own shortly after this module, and then we take up some of the other functionalities in the next module. Welcome to the second module of this Basics of Excel Training. Just a quick recap before we get forward. The first module, we touched upon the Format Painter, the font, and also the alignment tabs. We saw how to open up basic tabs in an Excel and also how to cut, copy, paste those, format the text in each of those. We also ran through on how to borderline some of the cells, color the cell values, as well as the entire cell. We also saw the alignment of the different text that was entered into the cell modules. We saw wrapping of some text and fitting it into a single cell, and also merging and centering the different contents of the cell. It's pretty basic and simple. So we move on from here. We've created a new sheet here, which you see right at the bottom, a test sample 2 now, wherein we will run through the next 3 features of this Excel sheet. That is the number, the styles, and the cells. Let's get on to number first. I've entered some demo values for you on the Excel over here to make it easy to understand. The number cell typically put helps us to give a certain sense to the kind of content that is being referred to in the cell in a numeric form. Let's take some basic examples which are given here. While there are a host of these available in the dropdown, we look at some of the basics one. I take the first one, which is the currency that you see right over here. Now you may want the currency to be in a particular country value, for example, Indian rupees or US dollars or euros. I've selected the basic one here as the Indian rupee, and when I click on the button for the cell A5, it converts it into rupees 35. That's the way of doing it. It's English India, that's the basic one. If I were to take this as English United States, you'll see it gets converted into a dollar value. Similarly, the pound value for United Kingdom, and so on and so forth. All right, let's look at some percentages. Suppose I have a number whose percentage is what I wish to calculate, a 0.74. I just click on that cell, which is the A7 over here. And then I go on and select the percentage value. There you go. It gives me the 74% value. Let's look at another one. And this is the comma style. The comma style is very useful when we are dealing with large numbers. Let's look at this number. Difficult to comprehend the number of zeros put in directly. And therefore, the number format comes in very, very useful here. I just select the cell A9 and click here on the comma style. There you go. It gives in the decimal based comma style format for this particular number. Let's look at decimal values now. I have a decimal value number here, say 100.35. The next two styles that you see over here are used to increase or decrease the number of zeros or the decimal count before or after the number. The first one is an increase in decimal. The second one does a decrease in decimal. So these are some interesting features to represent numbers in the way we want to in an Excel. It is very useful for specific kind of purposes where Excel is being used. Say, for example, an accounting purpose would require you to have the right currency used. Playing along with numbers for percentages helps you with this particular percentage value. Large numbers are useful, and therefore decimals and comma values come into play over there. All right, so that's something about numbers. We look into the after exercise of the assignments, wherein you can play along with some other values as well. Let's go to the second one now. That's the styles format. Styles is very useful in an Excel. It allows a variety of conditional formatting and helps save time from having to get into manual work or manual searching of numbers. Let's look at a certain example. Say I select this number over here in cell C5 to apply some conditional formatting. I click on this and I say highlight cell rules. Let's take a typical example over there. Let's say I wish to highlight this number if it is greater than, let's say 50. There you go. Since the number is greater than 50, you see that the cell has been highlighted in light red color over here, which is what has been selected with a dark red text. Okay, let's cancel this. Let's look at something else now. Let's go to the column E. What we do over here. Okay, let's try another one. Let's try for some duplicate values in this entire column. I select the entire column E and I click on conditional formatting. I ask him to highlight the duplicate values. There you go. The number 44 occurs twice, and therefore it has been highlighted over there. This is very useful to find duplicates in an Excel where there are a large number of values that we are playing around with. We can simply select that column and be able to identify duplicates and therefore get an exact count of unique values or delete duplicates or do whatever kind of work that is needed to be able to identify stuff that is associated with duplicates. You'll notice that there are a host of other things over here which can be found out. Like we saw the greater than, there can be a less than, or in between two ranges of values, or equal to a particular value. You can also have text instead of numbers, trying to identify certain text that has certain words embedded in it. This will be very useful when you want to identify certain statements with particular text in it. Similarly, you can have the date format of the cell as well. And we saw the duplicate value, of course. There's a chance to create custom rules as well. But we'll keep that for a little later. We'll keep it to the basics right now. You'll see there are a host of other rules here, like the top 10, bottom 10. So there is a lot of playing around that can be done here, which we will again see in the exercises later. But just to give you an overview, it can again identify in ascending order the top 10 or the bottom lowest 10 values, both in terms of numbers or percentages. You can also have averages of numbers and therefore highlight all those cells which are above or below a particular average. You can have data bars as well, which highlight those. How about looking at one of these? Let's try highlighting this with a data bar. There you go. The darkened part is the completion ratio or percentage you could see for that particular cell. So 44 would be near about the halfway mark, which would be dark blue in color. And 66 is a little more, as you would have imagined. So these darkened values help you to actually move and give an idea of what the cell value is. Do a Control Z back now. Okay, so these are some of the basics of styles. We'll see more details of styles later. Let's get into cells now. What does cell help you to do? Cells actually help you to insert, delete, or amend the rows that are there within an Excel. Let us see this as an example. I go to row number 9. I wish to insert a sheet row over here. And that's what I do. There you go. There's an additional row that gets inserted. There's one more. I think I've inserted an extra one. Let me go back and delete the row. Delete the second one as well. There you go. I come here and I say I wish to insert a cell. It asks me whether I wish to shift the current cell down to the right, or the entire row needs to be shifted, or the entire column. Let me just shift this particular cell down. There you go. Oops, if I think I've made a mistake, what do? I simply go back and do a delete cell, says shift the cell back up, and there you go. The cell is shifted back up. So the insert and delete cell helps, or the rows and columns helps you to insert, delete, modify the cells, rows, or columns within the Excel. The way we saw rows, in a similar way, the columns can also be inserted or deleted. It also lets you insert an extra sheet into your current playbook. There you go. This is similar to the plus button sign that we had seen in the first module. Suppose I did not want this. Let me go back to my initial one. So the cells is typically to play around with the insertion and deletion of rows, columns, cells, and also sheets within your current workbook. Okay. Since we are done with the basics, I will just switch back to the style one more time. And we will see the format as table piece. Now, suppose you have a lot of values that are entered back over here in your Excel, and you wish to play around with these numbers like cell filtering, number filtering, organizing them in a particular tabular format. This is where your format as table comes in handy. Let's look at a basic one. I've entered some random values over here. I select those. I go to format as table. I can select the style that I want, a table with borders, a table with all borders within as well, a table with no borders, a specific color, so on and so forth. Let's select one of these. It asks me for which data do I need to select. This is the one that I select. And I say, okay, and there you go. It gives you a table which is ready to be worked upon. And here I can apply various types of filters, sorts, largest, smallest. What does sorting and filtering mean? And how does it help you in your tabular format? That's something we will see in the next module. Practice it on till then. Well, in the first modules, we've already covered quite a lot of content to get you familiarized and to be able to be hands-on with a lot of important yet very easy to use features of Excel. In this module, we will cover the remaining basics, which are to do with the editing part of an Excel. A lot of stuff can be done on editing. We'll cover some of the simple basics here. I've inserted some data as you would see here on the sheet for your easy reference. Let's get started then. If you're a mathematical wizard or like to have fun with numbers, this is something that will really interest you. You see a host of numbers entered over here. You can play around with these numbers in various different ways. One of the things is you may want to find out the sum of all these numbers or just simply add them all up. Well, doing this manually might be tedious. Doing it on a calculator also requires you to input each of these numbers. Well, Excel makes it very easy. All that you do is select these numbers, go to the auto sum function and click on the sum. There you go. The sum is right down there. Alternately, if you were to just select all these numbers, you see at the bottom over here, you again get the count, the sum, and the average. However, the function helps you do it in a better way and shows it up in the Excel so that you could reuse the result as well. Let's try the other one. Let's take average of these numbers. There it is, 384.2. Let's try the third function. If you wish to have a count and if there are too many numbers that you're playing around with, manual count becomes really tedious. Select count and you get the total number of entries, which is 5. Let's go to the next one. If I wish to select and know the maximum value number in a host variety of selection, this does it very easily for me. So you see in this entire selection, largest number by value is 563. And Excel has displayed that for me. Similarly, it can also show me the minimum number of these, which is 132. Right. Now, there are a variety of other functions which are a little bit detailed and mathematical. But if that is something that interests you, I would definitely recommend taking a look at that. We can see some of these in the later modules of the advanced Excel. For now, let's jump on to some other parts of it. I've entered data over here. Every time deleting stuff from here and there, I find it difficult. Excel helps me to clear the contents in different various ways. I can simply clear content, which deletes all the numbers. If I have created a particular format, like put them in a tabular way, well, clearing format goes and clears the table only, but retains the numbers. Similarly, there might be comments and notes which can be cleared. Before we look at clearing comments and notes, let us see how and where a comment is useful. Put in some text here. If I wish to put in an explanation related to the test, the comment proves to be very useful. I simply go to this cell and right click. And I say new comment over here. Just say this is test comment. And I put this in 10. There you go. It gives me the test comment along with the date and time when this was entered. It also gives a little purple bar right at the top right corner, which lets me know that there is a comment to this cell. The minute I hover my mouse over that particular bar, it shows me the comment. And now if I do not need this comment any longer, I simply go to clear and say clear comments and notes. A note is very similar and again can be inserted by right clicking and putting in a new note over here. Let's say this is this note. There you go. Again, there's a bar here and I roll over it. So we have this bar. Clearing this is again simple as we saw the previous one. Just say clear comments and notes. Excel also identifies URLs. For example, if I enter saying www.test.com and it creates a hyperlink and blue colors the entire cell for me. It gives me a clickable link if I hover my mouse over that particular cell. Again, I may not want this hyperlink to be displayed. So I can go to clear and say clear hyperlinks. It will give me an option here when I select that. There are two different options. Either clear the hyperlink only or clear the hyperlink and format. If I say clear hyperlink only, in that particular case, the clear hyperlink would just go ahead and remove the hyperlink for me. But if I say clear hyperlinks and format, it removes everything and makes it non-clickable as well and changes the color. So in the first instance, it just makes the link non-clickable. In the second instance, it makes it non-clickable as well as removes the blue color formatting and the underlining of the hyperlink. Okay. Lastly, let us look at some playing around with tables. In the previous module, we saw how to tabulate certain data. Now, suppose this is data that I have tabulated with me. What is it that I could do over here? I could either go to the sort and filter function and one of these, or a similar facility exists by just clicking on this drop down over here on each of the columns. Say for column 1, I wish to sort it from the largest to smallest piece. Right now, you see it's sorted as smallest to largest. Let's reverse this. I say sort largest to smallest, and there you go. All of them now have the largest number first and the smallest number last. I bring it back to the original, smallest to largest. There you go. Similarly, you can select a certain range of numbers that you would like to over here. Say I wish to be able to see numbers 20, 80, and 200 and their corresponding entries in column H, and I select that and say, okay, everything else gets hidden and only those 3 particular columns are displayed. It's back. A similar kind of thing can also be done through this icon. When selecting the table gives me a sorting in the ascending, a descending, a custom sort, or a filter button. They all are the same. Well, great. We've covered a lot of stuff in these 3 modules. We've covered almost practically the entire home tab, which is the basics to starting off with Excel. It helps us to know how to open an Excel, how to open tabs, play around with the cells, some number playing, some data playing, formatting, and a lot of stuff. Knowing these basics will help you to be able to get started and play around with a blank Excel. Practice makes you perfect. Open an Excel and try out this stuff. I will also put in certain exercises for these modules. There'll be one last module after this, wherein we will see some more basics like saving the Excel, opening new Excels, and a little bit on viewing of the Excel as well for covering the basics. That will be coming up in module 4. Welcome to this 4th module of the Excel Basics training. Well, we've seen quite extensively in the first 3 modules, the home screen, wherein we've seen some basic features of the Excel, how you could actually play around with data, be it numerical, textual data, or otherwise as well. Insertion of rows, deletion rows, some kind of formatting, all of that stuff. Let us look at one more important feature from a beginner's point of view, and this is the View tab of the Excel. The View tab of the Excel is typically used to view data in a particular format, print it, format it in different various formats. What you see right now is the normal format of the view. Let's look at a page break preview. A page break preview is typically one that shows you the amount of content that would get printed, for example, when this document goes to print. What you see within the blue boundaries of this page is what would go on the page 1 of the document when it gets printed. Well, this can be changed. The amount of content being printed on page 1 can either be reduced or increased. Mind you though, if you were to increase or decrease the size and the content going onto the page, it would also cause the size or the font size of that content to increase, decrease comparatively in relation. How do we do this? You take your cursor near the left boundary of this page you left click on your mouse or cursor, keep the left click on, and then drag it to your left, to your right. There you go. That increases, decreases the amount of content. Let's do that at the bottom and top corner as well. So then it is possible to vary the amount of content that is being displayed and printed on a particular page. We are back to the normal view right now. Let's now look at something interesting. It's called the page layout. A page layout typically lets you have some standard content as a header and as a footer that would be displayed on all pages when it goes to print. This is typically useful if you were to display some information, say about your organization or your project, that you wish to appear on all pages of your document. It could also be some copyright information that could be used as a footer or the date of publishing. You can vary or edit this header and footer simply by selecting and typing in content. And then you see it is displayed on all the pages. You can do a similar thing with your footer as well. And there you go, it will be changed on all your pages. This gives you a good preview into how some standard content come on all the pages. The ruler is an interesting thing that you could see as well. When you select the ruler, you see at the top, there is this scale margin which comes over. It gives you an approximate idea of the distances being covered between two pieces of content, and therefore you could accordingly space them for your print or otherwise. Well then, let's go back to the normal view. You can zoom in and zoom out into your document through the zoom out feature on Excel. Say I wish to reduce and zoom the magnification of your page and bring it down to 50% from the current 100%. I say select, and there you go. Size is reduced. I go back to the 100% now, and now let's zoom in to 200%. Oh, there you go. Back to your 100%. It might be possible that I wish to zoom in on a particular area of my Excel to be able to clearly study that part of the Excel. What I've done here is I've selected a particular part of my Excel, and then I go and say zoom to selection. And there you go. It helps me to be very clearly able to zoom in and study the part of the Excel that I have selected and zoomed into. Go back to my 100%. So the zoom in feature is very useful to be able to see certain parts of your Excel as magnified or demagnified. One other important feature when you're dealing with a lot of data is the header, is the freeze panes. As you see, there are a lot of headers that I have put in over here. Now it might be possible that as I scroll down on this Excel, there is data over here, but I'm not able to see the corresponding header for this data because I've scrolled way too down. There is an option to freeze either a set of panes or the top row or the column to the extreme left, the first column. Let's freeze the top row here. And now as I scroll down, you see the header remains intact without moving. And therefore I see the test file relates to header 19. It is also similarly possible to now freeze the first column. And then when I scroll to the right, you see the column of header 1 stays intact as I keep scrolling to my right. Let's unfreeze that. Well then, the freeze and unfreeze option is very, very useful to be able to play around with a lot of data while retaining a certain part of the rows or columns. And therefore it allows you to compare and contrast with certain data, or to be able to stick on a particular row or column to be able to identify data with a particular set of headers in the rows or columns. Well then, this much is for the view section. As I mentioned, the view section is very useful for you to be able to look around data in a particular format and to be able to print it in hard copy as well. Well, we've been doing a lot of work on Excel. Imagine you did all this work and this were to all disappear, well, that would be a nightmare. And therefore, it is of utmost importance to continuously save the data as we work on Excel. Let's look at the file option now. Then you click on file and you see the save as option over here. The save as option is to be used the first time that I am saving a particular file. I may choose a particular destination like documents where I wish to save this particular data. Let's say this is a sample workbook and save. This has already been saved now. Now each time I do not need to do a save as. I can either directly go on file and click on save, or an easier alternative is to click on the Control and S button on your keyboard to save it after a little work that you have done every single time. Also on the file option, you see there is a feature to open a new Excel. If you are done working with the current one and need to start working on a new Excel, this feature is important. It gives you a series of different help tutorials here, which you can go through, and also different templates that we saw earlier. Excel also allows you to open an existing document in Excel that has been saved on your laptop or your computer. What Excel also lets you do is print your current document. And here we see the amount of content that would get printed on each page. It lets you print only the current active sheet, or it lets you print all the sheets on your workbook, or it allows you to select a particular area on your workbook. The different margins that can be set, the size of paper that you're printing on can be selected, and so on and so forth. Okay. Excel allows you to share this document with other people, either via email or any of the shared drives that you might be using. It allows you to export your document as a PDF, and this is very important. If you wish to maintain the sanctity of the data on your Excel so that other people are not able to change what you have entered on the Excel, you can export it as a PDF document before sending across the Excel to someone else. Well then, once you're all done, you can go back and do your Excel. So then, we've seen a host of features that should be a good hands-on for you to get started with Excel. I hope these have been useful and beneficial to you. While these are the basics, these are really useful to get certain stuff on data handling ready for you. Well, as I mentioned at the start, Excel can provide you the very basics for a beginner, and it can help you with a range of complicated and complex tasks to be performed. A lot of those in the advanced features of the Excel. For now, I leave you to do a lot of practice with what we've done and some exercises for you that are posted in the section to allow you to do some hands-on with what we've seen. Happy practicing and look forward to connect with the advanced features soon.